Well, I am really excited to bring this remarkable entrepreneur today. I mean, what we all want to do is make a difference, and the way we do it by communicating effectively, to persuade, to really make a difference. And this particular entrepreneur, he's made a huge difference, not only with himself, but so many other people. And I met him through one of the top mastermind groups in the country. And I got to tell you, when he stood up, everyone listened. The power of influence is amazing. This remarkable entrepreneur is Michael Bernoff. Michael is going to share with us today how you can be a leader and inspire action in all those around, multiply those sales, and really make yourself even more effective. I'm John Bowen, and this is AES Nation. It's all about accelerating your success. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss this.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Michael, I got to tell you, this is a real pleasure. You and I just met at Joe Polish's Genius Network, and you are an imposing fellow that was influencing everyone as a new member. And I go, I got to get together with this guy. And then after meeting you, watch some of your videos, and I can just really see the power. And I go, I got to have Michael join us. So first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John, for having me. I'm excited to be here. Sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that's just so great about working with fellow entrepreneurs like yourself that want to really share and make a difference. And one of the things that I was so impressed with is your ability to really use persuasion and influence, and in a couple of different ways. And I want to save that because it's so powerful. But give us a little bit of backstory, because normally this doesn't happen overnight, that you wake up and you're able to persuade your mom at 5 to let you eat more candy or something like that, and you're in such good shape. I know that didn't happen, but how where did this all come from?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, John, because, I couldn't imagine any guidance counselor in the world, giving the option of what you want to do for a living, like, hey, fireman, doctor, lawyer, influential guy. So here's where it happened. You either become, I believe in life, you're either somebody that has all the opportunity in your life, or you're given challenges that force you to grow. I have a dad I love so much who's an aerospace engineer, which is the anti-communication influence. And my mom's a teacher. And I realized I always wanted to do more. I've always had that feeling inside, like my heart, that always said, I want to do more. I'd ask my parents, being from Jersey, I'd go to the Short Hills Mall and I'd see all these fancy cars. And my parents, not being salespeople, were pretty good at it. They'd say, that's great, but they're not for people like us. So I always wanted things, and I never knew how to get them. So luckily, I stumbled across some really cool, after struggling in business at about 19 years old. I was struggling, and I stumbled across, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I saw it, and I said, there's something to this. And I made it really a life's mission that no one taught me how to communicate effectively. So I wanted to create a company and a movement that taught other people how to make life easier for them. So for me, it was really wanting to be in business, nobody teaching me, having no mentors, no educators in my life, and having to really do life the hard way, made this a lifetime mission.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the ways you can become very passionate, Michael. I mean, I do remember reading that book very early on. It's obviously one of the classics. And one of the challenges is that if you don't have, I had kind of the entrepreneurial family that was fairly successful, but then they lost everything. So I got the motivation, I got the ride up, and then in college had the collapse down. And it's amazing though, these life moments that we get influenced, and so often we've got to take our own action, and you really have it. I mean, you've perfected it. And I want to start with one that every fellow entrepreneur, we all know that we have to communicate. Many times we want to make a difference in the world. We know capitalism works, and to the extent that we can deliver more value to more people, we can be even more successful and buy that car that was at the mall that you saw there, or whatever we want to do. I mean, take care of the people we love and the causes we care about. And we know we have to persuade people, and we need to influence. And one of the things that I really want to kind of, you are an expert in this, and this is something you do, and you help so many people. I mean, our fellow entrepreneurs, where do you start? Because, I mean, there are days where you feel really beaten down, and that you're not you're trying to persuade yourself to get out of bed and pull the covers over. How do you deal with all this?
You got the, I mean, it's twofold. I mean, that's the mind over mattress, and a lot of times the mattress wins, and you wind up going back for another 5 minutes. It's amazing how influential we are. So when I look at influence, I break it up into two very specific categories. Number one is influencing other people, which everybody comes to me primarily for right off the bat, because if I can show you how to communicate more effectively and lower resistance in another person, make them more receptive to buy, every business owner wants that. But the courage to use that is the real power, and that's something I call personal influence. So I'll just draw you a little picture of it, of how you get started, and show you how many moments we have of this in our lives. Imagine you're on a diet. Health is huge to me. I'm one of those people that I'm very in tune with me. I know before I sit down at a meal, I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow if I do eat this. So I know how to push the things to the side, order correctly. Not that I'm being anal with it. I understand how to influence my body to get the result that I'm looking for, which is really what most of us are looking for. So personal influence, if I were to put it in a nutshell for you, is that feeling like at 11 o'clock at night, you're laying there in bed, you want to look good in your bathing suit a couple of months from now, or that you want to impress somebody or feel good. And just imagine taking off money for a minute, and you find yourself gravitating towards the refrigerator at 11 o'clock at night. You should not be there. And you walk out of bed and you're around the corner. If you have personal influence, you get your butt back in bed. But because you don't, you wind up at the fridge, and you totally could stop yourself from grabbing the handle. You got the Sub-Zero right in front of you, staring at you.
There's nobody else around. It's just you.
It's just you.
I've been there before, Michael.
It's just you also with the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should I pick it up? I got to fire the person. I got to hire the person. Personal influence makes your life easier. So, do you pull the handle, and you still can, if you have personal influence, do not grab the leftover veal parmesan that's loaded with salts and fat. You grab the celery, the hummus, or you just go back to bed. In those personal influence moments that's where life really becomes powerful, to figure out your games that you're playing, because everybody's playing a game. We don't even know we're playing, and it's running on autopilot. And if you could learn how to influence yourself to pick up the phone, to stay in bed when you need to get out of bed when you need to, that's where the real passion comes from. And it's funny that people always ask me for sales skills, but when you're on, you don't even need to sell anymore. You just walk up, go, look, you need this, and you buy it. And that's really where I want people to be, to stop selling so much and start selling themselves and being who it is they should be. And then life gets easy.
Well, we all know that we've been in that flow moment where, it's so easy, and the ability to persuade and influence people, because, we know it's in their best interest and we can help them.
Yep.
Certainly we do well by doing well by others. And this is what's so great about being an entrepreneur. But, help me out, because, I have faced that refrigerator at night type thing. And, one of the reasons initially I've been in Joe's group for a number of years. I have lost weight because of hanging out with Joe Polish and Genius Network, because I got to find either fat friends, or we just got to stay being healthy, because the healthy part wins. I mean, it makes a huge difference in the energy. I mean, that's, if nothing else, even if you don't care about fitness and all that, having the energy to do everything that you want to do in life is so important. But, how do we kind of, this balancing act, is, you're talking about, Michael, where, really what I want my business to be more effective. I'm not sure I want to deal as much with me personally. I want to be all I can be and all that, but I want more sales too. And how do you help that entrepreneur really, have that influence in their business, but then also to have it, personally? Because this is one of those exponential growth, maybe even more than exponential growth when you start. If you have both of those, it's like, wow, look out.
That's where everything starts to change. And I would use one very, very powerful word. It's actually two words, but personal awareness of what it is that you do. The reason I always in business use the health example is that how we language things really affects us. A lot of us want to build our business, make more money, get in better shape, have a better love life, sex life, whatever it is. And we don't realize how much results and memories are in our brain. Like, if you lost everything in 2007 or whatever it is, or 8, and you're in real estate and you want to get
2008, 2009, I remember it well.
Whatever. 2007 was badass. We were all rich, right?
Right.
Instantly. And what's fascinating about it is the way we language things. I'm going to give you just a really, really cool example how to play with this, is that the words that we associate with what it is that we do have a dramatic impact. So for most people, in order to make more money, and that's what most people want to do. Let's use that as an example. In order to make more money, you first need to admit you don't have enough. Admitting you don't have enough brings out insecurity. So now the thing you want also makes you insecure, so you avoid it. Because if you take a look at human beings, and I'm going to give you a solution for this in a minute, your brain's primary function is to keep you safe, keep you alive. Your heart is to show you stuff that turns you on. So your heart's like, talk to them, go make more money, let's get rich. And your brain instantly says, sounds great, how are you going to do it, idiot? Do you know what I mean? So they don't communicate with each other. So what I teach people when it comes to influencing ourselves is to find a different way to go about what we're getting at. So I had trouble working out for years, so I changed it to training. I had never had trouble training, but I had trouble working out. So I stopped working out and I started training. I don't really worry about making more money. I don't even worry about building my business. What I love to do is I love to build things. I like to, make things better than they already are. So when I talk to myself is if I'm focused always on making money, then my brain is in the wrong place. I keep on reminding myself I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough. And the question is, if you really go from the perspective, how can I help even more people? I know that's the big thing that you come from. How can I help people? How can I serve? How can I make the world better? It changes the dynamic of what's going on, and it changes your energy from what's inside. So if we keep this simple, and again, I use health as an example, so we don't have to get into that weirdness about money, but our brain, I believe, miswires things a lot. So you'll see somebody that has something that you want, and your brain is telling you something. So instead of being frustrated that you're not doing well, what if I said, you look at your bank account and it's not where you want it to be, or you look at your P&L and this is not where it should be, or you're like, I'm doing 10 million bucks a year, why am I not doing 100? What's fascinating about it, instead of getting frustrated, what a lot of people do, it sends a signal to your body to get frustrated. What if I said you're labeling it as frustration instead of saying, wait a second, I'm not where I want to be. It's telling me I'm supposed to be doing something different. So jealousy, frustration, depression, anxiety, gaining 25 pounds, that's your body saying, wait a second, idiot, it's time to do something different. What you're doing isn't working, and I'm going to give you pain. Stop living with it, and it's time to do something about it. So that's why I always tell everybody, if you're not where it is that you want to be, congratulations. Instead of being frustrated with it, your body's saying it's time to do something different, not more of it. It's time to do something different. So you gave me a really broad question. That's I guess a broad answer for it. I think we can go.
Yeah, I think this is such an important one, Michael, because what happens, I think so many of us feel like, okay, if I want to double the business, I got to run twice as hard.
Yeah.
I've got to, if I want to get in really great shape, I've got to, run a marathon or become ultra marathon or triathlons and all this. And we take it to the extreme. And so often, if we can take a step back and really think through, and this is being much more strategic, as I know you are, that, what I always like is I think of businesses, we're not in business for more business. I mean, I'm in business for the quality of life that I want. I've had 400 employees. I've had the private jet. I did all that kind of stuff. We did all kinds of purchasing, and I made good mid seven figure income, and I hated my life type thing. So, and I still remember that conversation with my wife, and she goes, why are you doing this again? And it's like, okay, stop. And, sometimes no matter where we are, and I've had times where I was meeting with a bankruptcy attorney too. So, I mean, this is early in my career, and, and so much of what we do doesn't really make sense. We get kind of doing what other people have told us to do. We're on that track, that treadmill. And we can't just step off and really, kind of think through consciously what we want to do and move toward that. I mean, how do you help someone do that, Michael?
Well, the first thing is to get people clear with is really what it is they want. And the majority of us, our outcome, that's the old NLP term, is outcome. A lot of people have goals and stuff in life. And what I recognized is that if you take a goal, for an example, I never understand why people set these. And I know the strategic way of thinking is have a goal, go for your goal, have a big picture thing. But to most people, goals represent something that they failed at about 99% of the time in their life. I mean, most people I meet, if I ask them, do you have a goal? They tell me, yeah, I've had them. And they're obsessed with having goals, but most people are obsessed with actually obtaining them, which is the realization of what most people are looking for. So when I'm working with somebody to figure out what it is they want, I figure out what their outcome is. And the number one thing is I figure out that the outcome is an actual emotion. So there's an emotion you currently have and an emotion that you currently want. So if you're looking for freedom, I tell most people you have that already, then you probably shouldn't bother, working really hard and doing all the things you want to do because you already have what it is that you want. You're just going to beat your head into a wall and you're going against what it is that you want. So what real success about it is figuring out the gap, the differential between the state of mind that you're currently in, like what it is that you truly have currently and what it is that you truly, truly desire. And it isn't a goal as much of an actual attainment of things. It's a way of feeling, it's a way of being that people are looking for. So when I get people to really isolate what it is they really want, it's funny because everybody always says, oh, when I finally have money, I'm going to have a foundation, help people, go to my church more. Well, then you need to just go to your church right now and stop working so much because you'll have what you want tomorrow. And then we can talk about what you really want. It's like most people are waiting for the one day thing and they have this fantasy in their head and they don't realize it's a game that maybe they didn't get a toy when they were 9 years old that they're still trying to obtain. It's like they're in love with their high school sweetheart that didn't even know their name and they're waiting for their wife or their husband to become that person. So what's fascinating is if you take a look at things, you take a look at your life, you're so much closer to getting what it is you want than you think you need. And I find for most people, an extra 20, 30, 40 grand a month, you probably have what it is you want in the first place. You don't need to make hundreds of millions of dollars to get what you want. If you want that, I can help you do that as well. It's just really figuring out what it is that you want to feel because it's a really, really silly game. It's not about obtainment because I know the game. I know making 100 grand, I thought I was going to be rich when I was 20 and I was broke. Made $1 million in a year years ago. And I said, this is it. I finally got my new Escalade, my first one I had. It's great for a week, get mud on your feet, you get in your new car and you got 36 more payments. So the question is really, what is it you really want that makes you satisfied with living? And how can you have that now, not have to wait for it? So I show people how to get what they want immediately. And then if they like it, we'll get more of it instead of waiting to one day getting it.
Well, this is, a big deal because what I see over and over again, I mean, we survey, every level of wealth from the affluent, $1 million of financial assets all the way up to what we call the super rich, 500 million and above. And there is not a high correlation in money and happiness. But there is in thoughtfulness. There's a lot of correlation. I mean, I was talking with a 74-year-old fellow I got introduced to yesterday, and he had just sold his business a few years ago for a little over 50 million. And the guy, I would have never known he was 74 listening to him on the phone. The energy he had, and he was so excited he was doing a new startup. So he could have cared less about making money. He loved hanging out with really talented people and making a big difference. And I've talked with so many other business owners who are so frustrated, and they finally hit one milestone and they go, oh, if I can get to that next one. And I just say, no, you're always going to be frustrated like that. If that's the way you're designing it, this is, if we from my standpoint, I'd love to hear how you do it. I look at it, I look at the outcome of the life I want to have. And I'm very big on being successful on purpose. I design everything around that, so that I'm going to do my business, my life, the relationships I have, the health. I am not one that enjoys fitness at all. However, I love skiing. I love, hiking. I like trail running. I like golf. You got to have some level of fitness to be able to do those well, type thing. And so it's, how do you help someone? We got so many fellow entrepreneurs who are really frustrated right now. I mean, there's a lot, like the world, nobody gets out of life unscarred. Stuff happens, and it's very easy to lose our mindset. I mean, we've got all this noise around us. We've got people beating us down, things falling apart. How do you keep that forward momentum and really have the quality of life and be successful on purpose, Michael?
Well, for me, I have one very basic thing that drives me is that you and I talked about this for a few minutes before we started this podcast recording, and one of the things that my big focus of what it is that I work on is that I've realized that we have something we want in life, and there's how we live. So I promise everyone can wake up tomorrow morning and you probably can have what you had yesterday within reason, and maybe what you had last week. And I realized I learned this from Stedman Graham a while ago, Oprah's guy. We were at an event one day. It's kind of, I don't know how he gets called Oprah's guy, but we was at an event years ago, and he said, if you do what you did yesterday, you didn't do anything today because you already did that. So I realized that we box ourselves in life, and the reason we box ourselves in, it's like we put ourselves in an environment that you find, like I remember when I first got started as a business owner, everything was exciting. I was willing to take risk and try anything, willing to lose it all. And finally, when you get a little bit of success and you maybe get a house, a family, you start creating this box around yourself and you start eliminating the desire to go for more. I call it like victim of success. And I'll answer the question as I'm putting this together. And you put walls around you, and like one wall represents don't lose what you have. So got that wall. Wall number 2 represents, here's how I identify with people. Like if I have a problem or I'm being here, like if you had no problems tomorrow, what would you talk to people about? I mean, it'd be pretty boring. I mean, if you didn't complain, you'd probably have no friends left. Everybody, I mean, you and I are part of a very positive circle with Genius Network, but the majority of people that call you, bitching and complaining, problems, right? So one wall that connects with people, like this is how you identify yourself. Number 3 is, another wall, and it's like, it's that wall of looking at life and saying, I need to wake up tomorrow and not have to think about who I am. Like, this is my identity. Like, this is how I'm known. I'm known as the guy that's almost there. I'm known as the guy that struggles. And part of our identity is struggling. Like, it being hard, it's part of who you were. Because, I mean, what would you talk about tomorrow if everything was easy, if everybody bought from you, if you were killing it, and if your leads were great, everything was awesome, and the banking was great, you got 15% interest on your bank account a month, and everything was easy? You had nothing to talk about. Part of it is you developed a struggling life because that's how you got there in the first place. And it's got to stop you from doing that. And the other wall is like our vision of our goal of what we want. And most of us are running into it, and we're running into a wall instead of realizing how I dedicate my life to 4 very specific words. And this is what I call my core 4. This is everything that I do. And John, anybody that I've ever seen be successful, whether it's Joe or Dean in our group, to Bill Phillips I've seen there before, to all the people that, to Oprah, to Bill Gates, Steve Jobs when he was alive, there's 4 things that these people have that when you dominate these areas, everything's easy. So I don't work on my business growing. I grow these for a specific reason. One is the word commitment. And I realize most of us are committed to what we do. So that's not our issue. You're committed to your business. You're all in. You got brick and mortar. You got investments, whatever. Number 2 is a more important word. It's the word congruency. Do you do what you say you're going to do? And the better we get at these words, the more congruent you become. I promised I was going to do this with you. Because I do it, I did what I said I was going to do. Number 3, and these are the 2 most powerful words on the planet, confidence and communication. And I've realized everyone who's doing great in life has mastered commitment, congruency, confidence, and communication. If you're battling in your relationship, you have a communication issue and a confidence issue, or maybe a congruency issue. Your wife's not mad at you because she's crazy. It's that you said you were going to do something you didn't do, and you don't know how to communicate effectively with her. Your clients aren't buying because your leads are bad. It's you don't communicate well enough. You don't have the confidence. So by working on these 4 things, which is a never-ending process, I'm never bored. I'm always getting better, and I'm growing over the wall like a ladder instead of running my shoulder into it. So that's what I encourage entrepreneurs. Stop running your head into a wall and start becoming better.
I think this is really powerful, Michael. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, I look at it, and the commitment part. I mean, just being an entrepreneur, as you said, you're committed.
Yep.
I mean, they might be committed for something else, but you're committed, to that business.
Right.
You want to make that difference, and we all know people, and hopefully it's not us, but who aren't congruent. I mean, they say one thing, they're one thing. Let's say the personal development side. They're out sharing what you should be doing and they're doing the opposite the second they're off stage. Or, I mean, just I won't even go there because there's so many of us.
Imagine this, John. Somebody says, I'm going to make 7 figures this year. If they were congruent, they would do whatever it takes to do it.
Right.
99% of the people you meet say, I'm going to get in better shape and make more money. If they were actually congruent and did what they said they were going to do, they're better off saying, you know what, I'm only going to do $150 this year.
Well, and the one thing I've learned, there's a secret on losing weight and getting in shape. Diet, and I'll use training. And,
Yep.
Most of life there's not these, the secrets that, there's ways to be more effective, the biohack and do all of these things. But the reality is there isn't. And that's why I love the congruency. And I think, one of the most important ones, Michael, here, and I didn't know these 4 from you before, and I would have said confidence. I always use it in our coaching programs, this quiet confidence. It's not, you when we first met, you just had this quiet confidence, and it's, and that's, that you bring value. And what people want to hang out with people that bring value.
Yep.
And then, go ahead.
Everything. No, that's everything. Confidence is, I believe, the missing gene of the 21st century, and kids don't have it. I coached kids for years in hockey, and I had to teach them how to look. I told the parents this. I said, I can't make them better players because most of them are better than me, but I'll make them more confident men. And then we went from never winning a game before I got there to going to state championship the next year by just working on confidence.
Yeah, and it's, you don't have to be even more talented. This is one of the things that I have the privilege of coaching some of the top financial advisors in the world. And, one of their biggest frustration is, I know more than the real successful guy. Well, their success doesn't have anything to do with how smart. Sometimes, it's counterintuitive. It's you've got to have that confidence. People want to work with somebody that actually believes what they're doing is going to make a huge difference. Now, it helps if it's true, but we don't want to have false confidence. But then the communication, tell me a little bit what you mean on communication, because this is one, where whenever 2 people are together, the opportunity for miscommunication is high.
Number one belief I have is the old adage of 2 ears, 1 mouth, half your time, blah, blah, blah. I don't buy into any of that, because I believe that most things people say are very outdated. They have a thought in their head. It's like something their mom said when they were 5 and they're speaking it. It's what they meant by what they said. So here's my number one belief on communication, changed everything for me. And I learned this a long time ago. It isn't what you said. It's how what you said was heard. So people will say all the time, but they didn't get it. No, you said it wrong. They got mad when I said it. You said it wrong. You said it in a way that wasn't as effective. So when I communicate, it's really about whatever you do. Like if you're reacting the way I don't like, that's all on me. So I put all communication back on me. And as soon as I own that, I got to get better at this thing. So if my wife's unhappy, I did that. If I just said something and she got unhappy with what I just said, or a client didn't buy, I created that situation. So to me, communication is, especially when it comes to other people, is my model is very simple. It's that I believe that most people have resistance in their life for reasons that had nothing to do with you. I'm not being negative about it. Most people have a preconceived notion of who you are and how you are and what the situation is going to be. If you're dealing with a broker, you're dealing with real estate, whatever it is, they have a story in their head. My job is to lower resistance, increase receptivity. So I don't talk to talk. I talk to lower resistance and increase receptivity. So I have a very unique style I call human interaction technology. And it's my old NLP and a bunch of stuff, but it's designed to do what you saw when you saw me originally. Because I designed my life to be that way, where you see me, you go, that guy is somebody I got to talk to. That guy is somebody that's got influence. And you can design who it is that you are by tapping into the power inside of you. So for me, real communication is not using words. It's not about sales techniques. It's really about building rapport by lowering resistance and increasing that receptivity, where you grab a human being's attention. And we live in a world that's scattered these days. So whoever has the most attention wins.
Well, and one of the mistakes see so many entrepreneurs make is they think that you have to be an outgoing, gregarious guy to be able to communicate like that. And I got to say, a lot of the Genius Network people are in other masterminds. I spend over 100,000 a year in mastermind groups, and yeah, they're so many of them are introverted. I mean, and I'm going to use the definition of introverted in the sense that when they go to take a break and rest, they're not re-energized. It's not with people. They like to do it independently, but they are very functional in groups. And how do somebody that's listening to this or watching us here, Michael, how do they go about really having that kind of that quiet confidence, that powerful communication, so that as somebody sees them, they walk in. I mean, we all know that person that walks in the room. I mean, one of the best examples is Bill Clinton, whether you like him politically or not. This was a guy, if he walked into the room, everybody, it was amazing, his ability to communicate and be very effective type thing.
Bill's okay with Bill. I have a client that I work with that wanted me to teach him how to model Bill, and he's going to be going for election here soon, and not president, but something else soon in Tennessee. I'm not going to get into that right now. And we took apart Bill's model. Bill is totally cool with Bill. And I've realized that a lot of us,
he's very happy with himself.
He's cool. It's not like it's not like a narcissistic level. Like Bill's cool with Bill. And he knows who he is, and he doesn't have to defend it. Here's where the problem comes in. This is fascinating as an entrepreneur. I don't know if you can remember this because you're a child of an entrepreneur, but I wasn't a salesperson. I was the guy pretending I was a salesperson, pretending I'm a business owner that was broke, and pretending I was doing it my first couple of businesses. So a lot of my life at the beginning was an act, and then I became successful, and I followed the mask and the act with it. When you are successful enough that you can take a few minutes, and I do this at a lot of my events, and you can figure out who you really are and get okay with that, that's the most confident person on the planet. That's the person you don't need to say anything. The most attractive quality in the world is, this is the George Clooney thing. Like everyone's like, women are like, years ago before he had a relationship, they're like, oh, what is it I love about him? You love that he's cool saying who he is. And people are very, very attracted to people that are okay being themselves. And a lot of us have an issue with that, where you're playing a part. Like my life, and I can tell your life, there's no in between. Like if you're spending time with the family and you're here, you're the same person. Most people, they go to work, then they got to go home and they got to be someone else. Then they're at a soccer game and there's someone else. Then they're like, when you can just be who you are all the time, it's the most amazing, liberating feeling in the world. That's true confidence. It isn't something you can figure out overnight, but I would start questioning that in yourself. Like, are there two of you? And if there are, you got to find a way to merge those two, because that kills your confidence when you have to be two different people.
Well, I'm going to echo. I see that over and over again, Michael, among the most successful people I get to work with, is they are the same. No matter where you are, we can be in any event. We can be in a $100 million plus deal, or we're at a ball game together. They're the same guy or gal type thing, and it's just they're fun to be around. I mean, you really enjoy their company type thing, and because of that, they're attractive and they attract success, and they do it over and over again. Michael, let me go to a segment we call resources, and what I'd like to do is let me pull up your website here.
Sure.
And this is at michaelbernoff.com. And Michael, tell me a little bit about how someone can learn more about what you're doing and the difference. You could help them either individually, company, the whole thing. I mean, you're making such a difference on so many levels.
Okay, you can go to michaelbernoff.com. There's a little box on there, right-hand side, says the 180 shift. You can check that out. It's 5 days, just kind of take a peek at what it is we're doing. Facebook's also great. You can catch me on Facebook as well, because we're always promoting stuff on there that can help you and impact your life. The biggest thing people, when they work with me to start with, the biggest thing people do is, I realize that everybody wants to make their business grow and they want to be more successful. They want the sales tips. I have persuasionenhancement.com if you want just sales tips. But if you really want to work on you, call to action, I'd get a hold of us and take a peek at call to action. If you mention you, I'll find a way to take care of you. Mention that we met through John. I can work something out with you guys on that. And that's an opportunity. You don't have to fly anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. It's something I've been doing for 15 years where you take a couple hours a day for a few days and you work on what makes you do what you do, what games you're playing that you shouldn't be playing in your life, how to get to the next level, and really set a plan that works without goal setting, non-traditional stuff. So I don't do coaching. That's not my thing. I know you do coaching. I turn business coaching over to you. I don't do business coaching. I do very quick strategy stuff where I have too much ADD for coaching. I don't have the attention span. But what I do have is quick fixes that make a major difference, and call to action: 5 days, get more done in 5 days than you have in 5 months, and take a lot of the burden off your shoulders. That is something I've been promising for years, with about a 99% success rate for people that start and finish the program, which is everybody. So if you're interested in that, find out more. I'll leave it at that. You know whether that's right for you or not.
No, that's great, Michael. And if you're driving, you can go, I've got above me, aesnation.com. We will have the transcript, all that. Let me go just kind of key takeaways here, too, that I'm walking away with. I'm looking at my notes, and, and this is, I'm going to go back to the 4 words. I got all kinds of notes and everything, but I think there's power in brevity. Yep. And, a little bit of self-assessment. I mean, this is, as entrepreneurs, we're all working to be even more effective and live great lives. I mean, that are meaningful to the people we love, the causes we care about. Some of us want to change the world, whatever it is that you want to do. But to do that, number one, commitment. There's got to be a commitment. And, I always love the idea of visualizing what it is that you're moving toward. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact date that you're going to do it. Congruency, this one, there's so many phony people, pretenders in the world. There's predators. I mean, if you don't have congruency, you're one of those, one of the two. And, don't be. I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure. Confidence, this is getting comfortable in your own skin. I'm doing video podcasts with Michael. I've got a face made for radio. I mean, whatever confidence you need, you got to develop. You are who you are type thing. And then, communication, learning some of, these really effective communication. I mean, it is, I was thinking, Michael, as you were talking about, the other day, I had one of my top clients say, John, they were thinking of not, renewing our engagement. And geez, I said, you're having this huge success. And he goes, but I thought you were going in a different direction. And I explained what we're doing. He goes, well, that's exactly what I want. And I apologized to him that I had miscommunicated in our, I just hadn't told him where we were going. And, this is so important that we take the time, because it's our fault if the communication isn't working. And this is, with the noise out there, just a huge difference. Michael, thank you again. Everyone should look at the transcript. There's been so many pearls of wisdom. Look at yourself so you can be the entrepreneur that you want to be. Go out and make a difference. Wish you all the best of success.
Thank you, John.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. aesnation.com